Alright, I have gathered another 20 myths from the comment section, and today we will see which ones are true and which are false. For example, can you launch a Korok high into the air using just water? What happens when you use the Ultra Hand on a Stelnox eye? And can you stop a horse using a stake? Well, let's find out. Number 20. One weapon from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom that I loved is the 8-fold long blade. A Yiga weapon that looks like a katana, but it has one special power. It creates a powerful air slash that can deal damage. And in the past, we have fused all kinds of items to it to increase its power or enhance it in some way. However, now someone claimed a new way to make it better. The man said that attaching a Lizalfo's tail to it will increase the size of the wind slash. So I got myself one and tried it. But as you can see, this doesn't work at all. I can't even create an air slash with it. It has lost that ability completely. And it's not because of the elemental powers of the tail I used, because in the past we have seen that it can create elemental air slashes as well. So it seems like this just doesn't work at all. Number 19. As you all know, I've tested a lot of different myths in the past, and often people want me to retry them, or do something slightly different to see if it could still work. And today we will revisit an older claim. Well, sort of. Because back in the day I gave a bokoblin a shield with a rocket to see if it would fly up like Link does. But no, this didn't happen. Most likely because it has no energy to power it, unlike Link or the Zonai constructs. But then West 3D Gaming said that a flamethrower and a spring shield do work. So I created those and gave them to our Boko boy right here. And while the spring shield worked, because it required no energy at all, the flamethrower didn't work as expected. In the end, creatures like bokoblins are just limited because they can't power these Zonai devices. So yeah, while those springs could be sort of handy, most other things are pretty pointless. Number 18. Now, armor was always important in the Zelda games. Both enemies and Link used it to protect themselves, and at times it could also defend you from the elements. And of course, this is a thing in recent titles as well. Link has loads of sets that he can wear, but for a long time there weren't any enemies with armor. But in Tears of the Kingdom, this changed. All of a sudden we encountered bokoblins clad in plate. And this can be a problem. You need something powerful to get rid of it, because any normal attack won't do much. But is there a cost-effective way of getting rid of it? Well, Link CJ claimed that an arrow with a cooking pot on it could destroy the armor in one hit. So I got myself this Zonai device, strapped it on an arrow, and shot it at this sleeping bokoblin that was wearing armor. And yeah, it worked. He lost the entire set right away and was vulnerable to all my attacks. Which is pretty handy, because everyone has a cooking pot on them at all times, and they cost almost nothing. Number 17. Now alright, adding a Lizalfo's tail to an 8-fold long blade didn't work. Sure, it could be a good weapon, but it lost its air slash ability. But someone else came up with another cool combination. Mapdoor said, what happens if you fuse this sword with a boomerang? Will it create wind slashes when you throw it? Well, I had no idea, and as far as I remembered, I hadn't tried this one yet. So I combined the two weapons and started throwing. But no matter how often I did this, nothing would happen. No wind slashes appeared, so again it had lost this ability because I added another weapon to it. So by the looks of it, this only works in some rare instances, which we have covered in older videos, as well as the ultimate compilation that's on the channel. But I bet this commenter already knew this because he tested it himself as well. Number 16. One thing that Nintendo is pretty good at is adding small little details to their games that make it feel more alive, realistic, or interesting. And the two most recent Zelda titles are filled with stuff like that. I mean, Breath of the Wild had massive delays because they were still working on a lot of the reactive physics elements. And to be honest, I still discover new things. For example, Citrix Cats asked me, if you give a Stealth Horse an apple, can he eat it? I mean, it's all bone after all. Now, I had no idea. I didn't even know you could feed apples to a horse. But as you can see, it's a thing. So I went to the depths and tried it with the Undead Horses there as well. And yeah, it can eat apples. However, it doesn't make much sense. I mean, it doesn't even have a mouth or a stomach, so I have no idea how this works. It could even be that this is only in the game because Nintendo forgot about it and just copied the normal horse behavior over to these undead ones. But in the end, we have no idea if this is the case. Number 15. Now, when I read this next claim, I didn't believe it at all. It seemed incredibly unlikely to me, because L-Meme's Freshest claimed that if you put an eye on an arrow next to a horse, it will lock on to the horse. And when he said this, I assumed he meant that this homing arrow would fly towards the horse. So I did exactly that. But as you can see, it doesn't want to lock on to the horse at all. So I went for a different approach. I rode into Hyrule Field and tried to find a bokoblin on horseback to see if it would lock on to his horse. But once again, the answer was no. Sure, the bokoblin was hit, but no matter how hard I tried, it wouldn't touch the horse itself. So I would say that this claim is false. A Kisai arrow will never lock on to a horse. Number 14. Every good Zelda game needs bosses, and they need to be big, strong, impressive, and memorable. Luckily enough, Nintendo is pretty good at this, and so we saw many like this in Tears of the Kingdom. And now that the fuse mechanic is a thing, many of them drop body parts or items that you can fuse to other things to create a powerful weapon. However, Scooby-Doo had an interesting question about all of this. Can you fuse a Stelnox rib to create something? Well, I went underground to find one, and as soon as it threw one of its ribs, I tried to fuse it to my blade. But as you can see, you can't interact with it, and it even disappears in a matter of seconds. So sadly enough, you can't do anything at all. Sure, other Zai Powers work on it, but not the fuse ability, clearly. Number 13. Now sure, Nintendo is pretty good at programming their games, and overall everything functions pretty well, but they always forget some things, and so every game they release has glitches, Tears of the Kingdom included. And someone mentioned a new one in the comments. Kakariko H said, apparently there's a glitch where wood bundles can be lit on fire, but they won't turn into a campfire. Using this, you can power a Zonai balloon and collect the wood afterwards. Now, I had never seen or heard of it, so I tested it. I held this bundle above this flame, and it was on fire. And I could use it to power this balloon until it despawned. Look at it go! And then it even came back down, and I was able to collect it. So yeah, this stuff works really well. But I will say, if it touches the actual ground, it will instantly transform into a campfire. So you have to be a bit careful. Number 12. Now this next myth took a lot of time to test. Like man, it took the longest by far, because bringing it all together was pretty tough. Kev claimed that standing near luminous stone deposits restore gloom damage, which makes sense. So I had to get damaged by a gloom enemy or weapon, and then I had to stand next to one of these stones, which sounds easy, but it isn't. The game loves to heal gloom damage on the surface and sky, and these stones are not found in the depths. So I was in a bit of a pickle. In the end, I tried to hit some enemies with a gloom blade, and then I would run into a cave where I could find luminous stones. But this didn't work. So in the end, I kind of gave up and went for a slightly different approach. I could see that the mined stones also had this special glow. So I went to the depths, took gloom damage, and dropped these stones to see if anything would happen. And the answer is no, this doesn't work. So I think the luminous stones can't heal you from this. Number 11. In the past, we've looked at bees and hives before, and today we will look at them again. Kieran said that if you shoot a coarse beehive with a multi-shot bow, way more bees will come out of it, which is interesting, but it also doesn't really make sense. I mean, all the bees already come out when you hit it. Well, that's what you would think at least. So I decided to attack the same hive with a normal bow and a Yiga duplex bow, to see if there was any difference. And as expected, there's no difference at all. The same amount of bees come out of the hive. So yeah, as far as I can see, this claim is false. Number 10. So far, we've combined a lot of different things with the 8-fold long blade, but nothing has really worked. Sure, in older videos we combined it with certain items and it created a new effect, but that hasn't been the case in this video so far. But I have one thing left. Data Boys asked me, what happens if you fuse a puff shroom to this weapon? Well, I wasn't completely sure. As far as I know, I hadn't tried this before, so I combined them to see what would happen. But nothing really happened. Only when I struck an enemy did something happen. The puff shroom exploded like normal, but that was it. So yeah, this doesn't do too much. Number 9. Now I got another suggestion to test a small detail in the game that I had never noticed before, although this one is pretty pointless. Well, mostly pointless. Demon Kegman said that if you run in circles around a dog, it will give them 1 heart towards loving you, like you see with horses. Now when I read this I was a bit confused, because I had no idea why this would make a dog happy. I mean, I guess it's like reverse zoomies, but still. So I went to the nearest stable with a dog and started running around it until I had no stamina left, and doing this made the dog very happy. It loved me more due to it, so I tried to do it again, but it seems like this only works once, so it is real, but you can't do this again and again. Number 8. I think almost everyone agrees that Nintendo improved the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom. Sure, they weren't perfect, but still, they were better. Now, my personal favorites were the Lightning and Fire Temple, while the Water Temple was the worst one in my opinion. But I did enjoy the low gravity mechanic seen there, and apparently, it has an interesting side effect. Stupid Lemmy Gamer said, shooting arrows while in bullet time uses less stamina when in a low gravity area. So I went there to see if it's true, and when compared to stamina use in normal areas, you can see it uses a lot less. Now I'm not sure why this is the case. Maybe because of the boss fight, or the fact that you use this ability more here. Who knows? All we know is that this is 100% true. Number 7. Now there are many ways to skin a cat. Well, that's what you English folks always say. However, we will be looking at torches, because there are many ways to light a torch in this game, with most of us using either an open flame or some form of fire weapon. But does lava work as well? I mean, it's hot, so it should. And MC Ether asked me to test it, so I decided to do just that, which was easier said than done. I mean, getting to lava above ground was harder than I expected, and as soon as you go underground or inside a cave, anything will instantly catch fire. So that didn't work. So I had to go into a shrine where I was able to dip the torch in lava. However, then something strange happened. Link sort of puts it away and it also disappears from my inventory. So I'm not really sure what happens here. But one thing I am certain of is that it doesn't light the torch. So this claim is false. Number 6. One of the best new additions to this game has to be the caves. They are a thing in almost all of the Zelda titles, but they were absent from Breath of the Wild, which was strange. However, now they are in the game, and there's one character who can help you find them, the Lord of the Mountain, and all you have to do is present an apple at one of his cherry blossom tree altars. But when you summon him, can you quickly turn around and take a picture of him before he disappears? That's what Sydney wanted to know, so I did my best to get a picture, but sadly enough, you can't. He instantly disappears. So it doesn't matter how fast you are, you just can't do it. Number 5. Fairies are a must. Without them, you are doomed because so many enemies just kill you instantly. So I always have a load of them on me, but it can be annoying to catch them. And Owen wondered if he could use recall on a fairy to make it easier, which I had never done, so I went to my favorite island to collect them and used the Zai Powers on them to see if it would do anything at all. Now when I tried to use Ultra Hand, I couldn't grab them and they just got scared and flew off. So that didn't work, so I used the recall ability on it. Well, I tried to, because I couldn't. The game just wouldn't let me. Clearly, using Zai Powers on a fairy isn't really possible. Number 4. In a lot of instances, the Zai powers are great for solving all kinds of problems you encounter in the game, from puzzles to enemies. But still, I don't automatically use it in every situation. For example, during boss fights. And Jack asked me, can you Ultra Hand the Stelnox eyeball that pops out during the fight? Well, I did just that, but when I tried to grab it, I just couldn't. So yeah, I don't think this is possible, which makes sense. You could just grab it and get it stuck in a corner where you could destroy it in seconds, and that would kind of ruin the fight. Number 3. When I first saw that horses could be used to pull around carts and loads of other things in the game, I was super excited. But then when I had to actually do it in-game, I was not that impressed. It was a bit clunky. However, someone asked me an interesting question related to this in the comment section. Mr. Smart Guy asked me, would a stake attached to a horse harness stop it from moving? Well, I created exactly what he described and tried to ride away. But I just couldn't at all! And when I tried to place the stake higher, it almost bugged out the horse, and the game had to separate the two to fix it. So while this was funny to see, I can tell you with certainty, no horse wins from the mighty stake. Number 2. One of the biggest improvements in the Zelda games is the combat. Man oh man, all the new weapons, moves and special abilities they added are amazing. Before this, Twilight Princess was king, but now it's clearly the Switch era titles. However, while melee weapons can easily be parried in these games, is this the case with arrows as well? That's at least what Twisty Player claimed, and while it makes sense, I had never done it before, so I did it. And as you can see, while it's hard, you can certainly do it, although it doesn't reflect the arrow back at the enemy, which is a bit of a letdown. But still, it's cool to see that Link can be an ultimate badass by straight up parrying an arrow. Number 1. We will finish this video off by bullying the Koroks once again, because someone suggested a fun trick. Matt said that if you dunk a Korok deep underwater with Ultra Hand and release it, then the Korok will fly off like a cork, which sounded very interesting. So I grabbed one of them and tried to give it diving lessons. But when I let him go, he did shoot up, but not that much. I expected a real pop, but that was not the case. Even when I used really deep waters, this didn't happen. So while it sounded cool, it was a bit disappointing. But still, I have to admit, it's a real thing. Now those were all the myths I had, but don't worry, because I have many more, so go check them out. And don't forget, leave your ideas below, and be sure to subscribe as well as like, it helps a lot.